An odd stone leaves a father and a son torn apart. And then we take a look at the story of a man just trying to get a good night's sleep. Little did he know his sleep was about to be interrupted when two cowboys enter his house. You're like, cowboys entering the house? That sounds awesome. No, they're dead. They're ghosts. Today on Dead Rabbit Radio. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Dead Rabbit Radio. I'm your host, Jason Carpenter. I'm having a great day. Hope you guys are having a great day too. I hope you guys are having tons of fun doing whatever you're doing, and I hope you guys have some awesome plans for the weekend. I'm gonna go see Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I really liked the first one. I mean, I didn't think it was scary, but if I was a kid, it would have been the scariest movie I'd ever seen. It's the kids' version of Terrifier. It's pretty intense. That's what I'm going to be doing. I hope you guys are doing something awesome as well. We got a lot of stuff to cover today, so first off, running into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Everyone get on your feet and give it up for Mewtube. Woohoo, yeah, wee, haha, yeah, cat. A cat tube is rolling on into Dead Rabbit Radio Command. Watch out, you gotta jump over it. It's like a video game. Mewtube made a donation during our Thanksgiving live stream special. That is why he is going to be our captain, our pilot this episode. If you guys can't support the show financially through the live streams or the Patreon or the merch store, I totally understand. I really do. Just help spread the word about Dead Rabbit Radio. That helps out so much. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell everyone you know. Dead Rabbit Radio is your favorite paranormal show. That is how you can help the show grow. I also want to say this. Everyone who donated during the live stream will get 2 shout-outs like a normal Patreon supporter gets, but I'm going to go through the whole list once and then I'm going to double back around, because otherwise it could take 10 weeks before you even get your first shout-out with our new production schedule, you know, just trying to make sure everything's fair. Everything's fair. Mewtube, let's go ahead and get this party started. I'm going to toss you the keys to the... No, everyone, you know what? Grab onto Mewtube's ankles as he runs and jumps off the high... Oh, wait, I gotta give him the vehicle first. He's Everyone goes falling to their death. Mewtube, I'm gonna toss you the hair hang glider. Everyone grab onto Mewtube's ankles as he runs and jumps off the highest point of Dead Rabbit Radio Command and glides us all the way out to Saudi Arabia. All the way out to Saudi Arabia. There's stuff that I learned doing this podcast isn't even paranormal related. I was looking into this story, and did you know, you might go, Jason, of course. You didn't, like, I guess I didn't know, but I could have figured. I didn't really consider this. Did you know you can go hiking in Saudi Arabia? There's hiking trails and mountains. And I'm assuming trees and stuff as well. Because, you know, I only see, like, pictures of Saudi Arabia. Well, usually when I'm watching the news or reading a history textbook. But yeah, did you know that? You're like, yes, Jason, there's a lot of places on Earth you can hike. It's called land. It's called literally anywhere on Earth. Yeah, but if I told you, hey, I'm going to go for a hike, and you go, hey, okay, be careful, and I go, yeah, I'm going to go hike in Saudi Arabia, you would go, huh? What? You can't hike there. I'm going to call the hiking police. Oh, man. No, I mean, I guess it's kind of makes sense, but I never thought of Saudi Arabia having mountains. I just figured it was fairly flat, like the countries that surround it. Iraq is very flat. And Iraq and Saudi Arabia share a border. So, yeah, I mean, you know, there's mountains there. I know Pakistan has mountains and Afghanistan has mountains, and a lot of places have mountains. Nope, only those 3 countries, the U.S., Pakistan, and Afghanistan. No, there's a lot of mountains everywhere, but I didn't know they had mountains. I didn't know they had trees. I figured probably they had trees, but like hiking trees. You go for a hike. I don't think there's a bunch of palm trees up in the mountains. I don't know. Probably should look into it. But I had other stuff to do. I researched this story, but I go, wow, you can go hiking in Saudi Arabia? The world of the paranormal astounds me once again. This story takes place in the mid-2000s, so like 2016, or however you classify it, the 2010s, it's kind of in that period. 2016, 2014, around there, maybe a little bit earlier. We just have a few clues to figure out how old the story is. But, you know, it's not happening right now, or is it? It seems to have still considered some issues in the family. But anyways, a couple of years ago, in Saudi Arabia, there was a young boy, we'll call him Toby. We don't have the real names for this story. Toby, he's 8 years old, and him and his family are going on a hiking trip in Saudi Arabia. Oh, I'm paused there for your gasps of disbelief. Yeah, I know. I didn't think that there was a place to hike out there. Anyways, they're going for a hike. They're going for a hike in Saudi Arabia. The whole family's there, except his sister. His sister did not go on this hike, so it's mom, dad, and Toby. And outside of the city that he lives in, there's mountains. Pause again for your gasps of astoundment. Ah! There's mountains outside of the city. We don't know the specific city it's in, but I assume there's only one mountain there, so we could probably figure it out. But I figure there's only one mountain in Saudi Arabia, so we can figure it out. Anyways, Toby and his mom and his dad are going on this hiking trip one day, and his dad loves hiking. He hikes all the time, both with his family and by himself. It's his favorite hobby. It's kind of boring to me, but I know a lot of people like it. And Toby's dad is one of those guys. He's a hiking enthusiast. He's addicted to the hike. Anyways, they're out on this hike this one day. It's not the first time they've ever gone on this type of hike. And while they're walking around, Toby looks down and he sees something and he goes, "What?" And what he's gasping at, there's a rock on the ground, and he says, while it was a rock, it was kind of in the shape of a book. So I don't know if it was like rectangular, if it looked like an open book. Kind of an unusual rock in that sense. Anyways, a rock shaped like a book, but not impossible, right? Rocks take all sorts of weirdo shapes. He looks down and he sees this rock. It's not the biggest rock in the world. He can pick it up because he will in a moment. He looks down and he sees this rock. He says it's shaped like a book, and he kind of looks at it a little bit closer, and he realizes there's carvings in the rock. Not geological shapes, not some rock worm had eaten away at part of it. No, it's clear to him that someone has very specifically carved a message into this rock. But when he picks it up and he looks at it closer, he doesn't know what it says. He goes, there were words on it of a language I didn't understand, and there seemed to be a little bit of imagery, a little bit of carving, effigy type things. Toby's looking at this rock and he doesn't know what it says, but he also feels like it's calling to him in some sort of way. Even though he can't read the message, this message may be for him. Toby's holding this rock in his hands and he thinks, oh, this is really weird. Pretty cool though, pretty cool find. You know what, I'm going to take this home to my sister. I think she'd really like this. Toby walks over to his dad, and he's holding the rock, and he goes, hey, Dad, look at this really cool rock I found. Look, it looks like a book, and there's even, like, carvings in it, like someone was writing something. And Dad looks down at his son, and then looks down at the rock his son is holding. Toby figured his dad would be intrigued, curious. But that's not what happened. Toby said, I was looking at my dad's face when I'm holding the rock out, and he goes, my father, the expression on his face within an instant turned to anger and at the same time, fear. He goes, I could clearly read both expressions on my dad's face. He was really, really mad, and he was terrified about what I was holding in my hand, and I didn't understand why. In fact, I've never seen my dad that angry in my life, ever. In fact, I've never seen my dad scared at all, but now, all I see in his eyes are true fear. Just like, this all happens in an instant, Toby says. He goes, I showed the rock to my dad. I see anger and fear just take over his face. It's so visceral, Toby can almost feel these emotions. And then Dad goes, Toby, get rid of that rock! And before Toby can even react to that, he's holding the rock in his hand and he's showing his dad. And the dad goes, get rid of it. He goes, before I could even get rid of it or drop it or whatever, my dad instantly snatched it out of my hand and threw it as far as he could. I didn't even have a chance to react. I didn't even have a chance to do what my dad was asking me to do. Dad goes, that's it, we're done. Hiking's done, we're leaving right now. Turn around, we're going. And he grabs Toby And they all begin their way back down the hiking trail. And Toby was totally puzzled by this. And to be fair, a little scared himself. Because he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know why his dad's so upset. His dad won't talk about it. The entire way down the mountain, they don't talk about the rock. When they get back home, they don't talk about the rock. And Toby realizes, I probably shouldn't bring this up. I probably shouldn't bring up the rock that drove my dad insane with fear and fury. I probably should keep it on the down low, right? But what has happened? So that was around 10 years ago is when that happened. So that's why he's saying, it's somewhere around 2016, 2015, something like that. Toby goes, when I was a kid and my dad flipped out over it, I figured I better not bring it up. He goes, but over the years, I've been really, really curious what that was. Because here's the thing. Whenever I bring it up to my dad, whether it was a couple months after the event, a couple years after the event, even nowadays, even in the year 2025, if I bring this story up to my dad, he always has one of two answers. My dad goes, what are you talking about? Toby's like, the rock. Remember the rock I found that looked like a book? And Dad's like, I don't have any idea what you're talking about. Or Toby will say, hey, Dad, I was wondering, remember a long time ago, I've always been curious about this. Remember when I found that rock up in the mountains? Looked like a book. It had the writing in it. And Dad will just be ignoring him. He'll just ignore him. That's the path of least resistance. The dad will pretend he didn't hear what Toby said. And Toby will be like, hey, Dad. Hey, no, seriously, remember that rock I found? And the dad will just completely pretend not to hear Toby. And what's funny is if the dad always just said, I have no idea what you're talking about, I don't remember that. If you say that long enough, Toby might have started to think maybe this was a dream, maybe it was a childhood memory that wasn't true. But the fact that sometimes the dad will just pretend he's not talking kind of makes it sound like the dad does remember and he's covering it up. He doesn't want to talk about it anymore. That, because again, you would start to think, well, maybe it never happened because no one else remembers it. He doesn't seem like he talked to his mom. And actually, to be fair, it said that in the narrative, he went hiking with his family. I'm assuming the mother went with him, but maybe not. I don't know. Or maybe she wasn't there when he didn't show her the rock, or however that all played out. He could have thought it was all a dream, but Toby realized something pretty quickly after all this went down. Even though Dad wouldn't talk about it at all, and Toby just kind of realized to drop it as a kid. He's more curious as the years go on. But he realized something. After that day, Dad stopped hiking. He doesn't do it anymore. And this was his passion. He did it by himself. He did it with his family. He loved hiking. But after that day, Toby said he never hiked again. So I know it's not a dream. And I know he remembers it. Because it had a profound effect on him. It made him quit his favorite hobby. Over the years, Toby is also kind of, I don't know if this is like a negotiation tactic. But, Dad won't talk about the rock. He'll either pretend he doesn't hear Toby. I just think that's so funny because it's just the easiest way to avoid. Hey, remember when we were abducted by those aliens and you're just sitting there watching television? No, seriously. You remember it? Because it's happening right now. You're just watching television, but you're on an alien spaceship. It'd be the easiest way to blow off any story you don't want to talk about. So he either ignored him or he said, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, every so often, Toby would go, hey, Dad, you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about going for a hike. Remember we used to go for hikes? Dad will be like, yeah, I do remember that. Toby goes, oh, yeah, I'm thinking about going for a hike. In fact, I'm thinking about going for a hike up on that mountain. The same mountain they went up when he was a kid and found that rock. And I don't know if Toby was doing this. Maybe he really wanted to go for a hike or maybe he wanted to see what his dad's reaction was. But either way, he goes, over the years, I've told my dad I'm going to go for a hike. And then I tell him I'm going to go for a hike up that mountain. And my dad will just look at me and say, Toby, don't ever, ever go back up that mountain. So he remembers something. He stopped his favorite hobby and he warns his son from ever going back. Toby posted this story online. He posted it underneath the name Apprehensive Leg 654. I thought this was super interesting because he said, he's really posting the story and he goes, what do you think the stone could have been? He's still very curious about what that could have been. Like a magical relic? A spell carved onto a rock 5,000 years before paper was invented? Or does it have more recent origins? However, the black magic inside the rock, the ceremony, the ritual had to be done the same way it was done 10,000 years ago. He's curious, right? What could it have been? And it's interesting because his father chucked the rock. It would be really hard for Toby to go and actually find that rock again. He'd have to go off trail and hope that he doesn't get lost. On the other hand, he did feel like the rock was calling to him or drawing him to it. So there's possibility that he could go and find the rock fairly easy if he follows his gut instinct. Another poster, someone else posted in response to this and said, as a Muslim, my father always warned me about picking up weird objects. So I totally understand where your dad's coming from. He said, my dad always warned me about picking up weird objects, specifically things like, I thought this was really interesting, weird stones, which, obviously they would stand out and they do look cool. Actually, now that I think about it, I pick up weird stones all the time. There's this group in Hood River that paints stones and leaves them out. Like they have a little pumpkin one for Halloween and they had like little like drawings of people dancing or whatever. They put them everywhere. I don't know if you're supposed to take them. I take them because otherwise I figure someone else will. If I don't, some artist is like, oh, I spent so much time drawing that jack-o'-lantern on that rock and now it's missing. No, I'm pretty sure we get to keep them if we find them. They're like Easter eggs. There's a little signature on the back. It's just some local artist. But who doesn't like picking up a weird object like a rock or a funny looking stick or a stick that looks like a gun or a staff like Gandalf would have, especially kids. That's what's so interesting about this. Let me continue here. So this dude said, hey, listen, my dad always told me as a Muslim, we should never pick up odd objects like weird looking rocks or unopened bottles. And I thought about that and I go, that actually, here's the thing. Well, let me explain why. Because of Jinn. Because of jinns, these could be traps that jinns have set. These could be items that jinns have been attached to. And so by picking them up or by manipulating them, taking them home, whatever, you're actually inviting the jinn into your life. We've done a lot of episodes about jinns, which is interesting because that was not a subject I really had any interest in before doing the show. And now it's probably in like my top 10 favorite things to research because I know nothing about the phenomenon and it's very, very, there's so many weird details with the jinn. And I'll put the episodes in the show notes, but they had the one about jinn are being imported into America. Like very, very powerful families are leaving the Middle East and bringing their jinn with them. I mean, that's actually super interesting. Because, and we've talked about this before, an exorcist in the United States may know how to expel a demon, but they wouldn't know how to expel a jinn. And if that jinn that's attached to that family gets loose and then attaches itself to a Christian family, a Mormon family, a Jewish family, what have you, their exorcism rites, they won't work because it's not a demon. I'm sure they could eventually figure it out, but hopefully. Fascinating, right? Tons of stuff like that. And an easy way that jinn get into your life is leaving items. Usually it's money. Find money in your home that you don't remember losing. That could be a jinn. Or you could be losing your memory. One of the two, right? Or both. The unopened bottle is very interesting to me because I was thinking, I imagine this, he didn't specify this, but imagine a Coke bottle. Delicious ice cold Coca-Cola, and the bottle is sealed, but there's no liquid in it. Like that really would puzzle us. If you found an unopened bottle of Coca-Cola, like the plastic cap is still firmly on, it's never been broken, but the bottle's completely empty, and you found the bottle in the middle of nowhere, and there's no holes in it, there's no leaks, nothing. That is an unusual item that I think a lot of people would take home. Especially a kid. Because you're never really going to come across anything like that. An unopened bottle that's empty. Now, he didn't specify that the bottle was empty. Maybe it's full of Coca-Cola, and in that case, I'm drinking that gin. I'm all unscrewing the cap and drinking it in the middle of nowhere. This gin's all, no! Going down my gullet. This guy says, don't pick up stuff. My dad always warned me about picking up stuff. The gin could be attached to it. Weird stuff. He goes, that's probably why your dad threw it. Someone else said, a lot of times in Muslim communities, they'll have carved stones as cemetery markers. Was it possibly in a cemetery? And Toby goes, no. It wasn't in a cemetery. It was up in the mountain. He goes, however, it's really interesting because there's another story about this place that I'd like to tell you guys, but I'm going to get some more information about it first. Apparently, this place is kind of known in the area as possibly having, I wouldn't say paranormal, but odd occurrences. Not so many legends that it would keep people like Toby's father away, but just old wives' tales, things like that. But Toby goes, I need to get some more information before I tell you that story, because, it's probably just hearsay and all that stuff. He goes, I'm going to go talk to some of the people who've lived in the village for a long time and get some more info about all of this stuff. Never posts again. Toby never logs back online underneath his account. I don't necessarily think that a djinn got him. I don't necessarily think that he went looking for that rock again and either didn't find it and just wandered around the wilderness. I don't think that happened. I'm sure that probably would have been in the news, or that he found the rock and something negative happened. Actually, when I read that, and I read these accounts and I try to fact check as much as I can. Saudi Arabia has mountains. Can you believe that? Looking around his account and seeing that he stopped posting. What it reminded me of, a while back, we did a story about a man who saw, this was a dude in Australia, saw a guy who was half human, or like 70% human, but the upper half of him was a dingo. He was like half man, 70% man, 30% dog. And he was controlling this pack of dingoes. And then he controlled a kangaroo who was swimming around in the water to come up on shore so the dingoes could eat him. It's a weird story. And then he was warned not to tell these stories anymore. And it was kind of a weird way we figured that out. I emailed him and said, hey, dude, I had some questions about this dingo story. And someone from a different account emailed me and said, he shouldn't have posted that. Don't talk about it on your show. Just leave well enough alone. And of course, I ended up doing an episode on it and did read that email. That's kind of what I imagine. I imagine he did probably talk to someone who had been in the area longer, and they're like, wait, what? You're posting online about this rock? Dude, seriously, don't talk about that. Your dad was right, and he should have just dropped it. That's what I imagine happened. I don't think anything super sinister. I hope. Right? I hope. Very, very kind of interesting story, right? This idea that this rock, it's still out there. Someone else may stumble across it, but maybe not. He threw it off trail. It could be 100 years, 200 years before someone is walking off trail for one reason or another and finds it. Will they be drawn to it as well? Is this rock actually of black magic origin or jinn origin? Or is it just the story about a father who's pretty paranoid? And that fear that he had when he saw that rock changed his life. I mean, he doesn't do the thing he loves the most anymore. That's pretty bad. That's pretty awful. It's actually kind of sad. It's sad that the fear won't allow him to do that. But is it justified fear? I don't play with Ouija boards because I don't want to invite demonic entities into my place. But I am not afraid of Ouija boards. It's like I can go to your house if you have one set up. I can go into a store if they sell them. I can play Battlefield 6 if someone on my squad's username is Ouija67. So it doesn't interfere with things that I love. It almost sounds like he has PTSD. Paranormal traumatic stress disorder. YouTube, let's go ahead and toss you the keys of the world-famous Carpenter Copter. We are leaving behind Saudi Arabia. Why don't you fly us all the way out to Arizona? This story was sent to me by one of you guys. One of you listeners of Dead Rabbit Radio. Is awesome, right? I love getting stuff like this. We're going to go ahead and call this guy Bambi, longtime listener of Dead Rabbit Radio, Bambi. Bambi has quite the tale to tell. It's fascinating. It's weird. It's weird on two different levels. And I remember when I was reading his email, I was like, huh? What? This story takes place in Arizona. We're about to meet two people. We're about to meet Bambi. He's the listener of Dead Rabbit Radio, longtime listener of Dead Rabbit Radio. And then his girlfriend, who goes by the name Nishta. So Bambi and Nishta. Nishta used to live in this little adobe house in Arizona. And I believe it's part of this ranch property that they may work at. Again, I'm not for sure, and I don't want to give too many details because I don't want to dox them. And I didn't ask for too many details because I didn't want to accidentally dox them. But anyways, Nishta lives in this adobe house in Arizona. And it's kind of like a temporary situation. She ends up moving to another place. When her boyfriend Bambi moves states to Arizona, he's working the night shift at his job, and he will be staying in this same adobe house that she used to live in for a short period of time, and then he's going to be moving to a yurt that's located on the ranch. That's kind of all the pieces are set up here. Okay, so I'm back. And you're like, what? She didn't go anywhere. Well, yeah, I got really sick, like right after I finished that sentence. How sick did you get, Jason? Well, let's put it this way. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to go into detail as how much my stomach hurt. And who am I to pass up a good bathroom story? But it was pretty disgusting. You're like, Jason, using our imagination makes it even worse. Oh, well, that's kind of a you problem. Imagine something so bad, I don't want to talk about it in detail. And yeah, my stomach started really hurting. But anyways, I'm back. I'm saying all that because the episode's coming out late. And the audio quality's obviously changed because I'm recording this a day later. I'm still not feeling great. But, you know, I'm always sick. I guess there is no rest of that sentence. You just got to keep on going, right? Anyways. So we have Bambi and we have Nishta, his girlfriend. And let me paint the picture again and let me get back on track here. Nishta lived in this adobe house for a while. She moves out. Her boyfriend Bambi, who's the guy who sent me the story, moves to that house and is there temporarily. He's going to end up moving to a yurt on a ranch, but for right now he's in this adobe home. And he's not there for long. It's maybe a week. But he has an encounter that, and this is a fairly recent story, but he's still questioning. And I'm questioning it as well. I really don't know what to make of this story. I'm curious as to what your guys' theories could be. Maybe the whole fluffle can put their heads together, figure out what's going on. Well, anyways, Bambi, one day he's sleeping. He works the night shift, so he's sleeping during the day on a very uncomfortable futon, and he's dreaming. He's deep asleep and he's dreaming. And in his dream, he's sleeping. He's dreaming about himself sleeping. When all of a sudden, he wakes up in the dream. He's still asleep in the real world, but he's awake in the dream world. He wakes up in the dream world because two men enter the adobe house. And I don't know if I said this earlier, because it's been 24 hours, but the adobe house was built in the 1970s. This isn't an old house. He sees these two men enter the adobe house, and he wakes up in the dream. These just aren't any ordinary men. They're cowboys. And they're not just any ordinary cowboys either. He describes them as ugly and mean. Both of them. Two ugly, mean cowboys walk into the adobe house. Bambi wakes up in the dream and he sees these two men standing there. And they just glare at him. But after that, they don't really do anything to him. They just glare. The two ugly, mean cowboys then walk up to the edge of the futon, like the foot of the futon. And that is when they begin reaching up, and right where the wall meets the ceiling, or the base of the roof is how he described it, they start fiddling with something up there. Like they're putting something up there, or removing something from there, or just simply reaching up there. He's watching these two ugly mean cowboys in the adobe house reaching up right where the wall meets the ceiling. And after a few moments, the two ugly mean cowboys turn and leave. They just walk out of the adobe house. When Bambi woke up for real, he's laying there on the futon and he goes, dude, what was that all about? It was weird to have a dream where I'm sleeping and then I wake up and this is going on. And he's kind of puzzled by this whole thing. And he's looking up to where the cowboys were fiddling with. He can determine the exact same location. What's interesting, he goes, the furniture, the layout of the adobe house was a bit different, but he still could kind of figure out, well, they were standing here in the dream house, and even though the adobe house is slightly different, I think it's up here. Whatever they were doing something with this part of the house. So he ends up getting his coffee table and standing on top of it so he can reach the same part of the house where the wall meets the ceiling. Right where they were fiddling with, there is the wall where the roof meets. We've gone over that, but there's also an electrical outlet there. And he reaches up and he reaches behind the electrical outlet. Doesn't get shocked. He doesn't become the third cowboy. Not so ugly or mean, but a ghost nonetheless. Now, I think in the intro I said they were a ghost. I don't know if they're ghosts. It could just be dream cowboys. It's the cowboy of your dreams. It's not John Travolta or Sylvester Stallone this time. It's these two lugs. But anyways, he reaches up to where the electrical outlet is, where the wall and the ceiling meet, and he's kind of reaching back there, and he feels something. He pulls it out. There's something up there. And he reaches and he grabs it and he pulls it down and he looks at it. It's a film reel. It's an 8mm film reel. Now, I understand. I haven't seen the movie, but I'm well aware of the movie 8mm. A lot of people have seen it. If you haven't seen it, it's a movie starring Nicolas Cage investigating snuff films. I should watch it. I heard it's actually pretty good. And they made a sequel too, which I might have seen the sequel oddly enough, But this isn't a snuff film. No. This is a 8mm Disney film. And more specific than that, it seems to be a clip from, or it might be the whole thing actually, but it's from Swiss Family Robinson. Island of Mystery. And on the back, like it has the cardboard case and everything. It says, this exciting drama shows the Robinson family marooned on an island. They are attacked by pirates and their battle for survival begins. I don't know if, I can't imagine it's the whole film. I mean, the whole film would be quite big. It's probably just a short clip, like in the movie Running Scared, about that Russian mobster who only had a clip of a scene from a John Wayne movie, and he built his entire persona around John Wayne. Have you guys ever seen Running Scared? I'm pretty sure I did a Dead Rabbit Radio Recommends on it. It might be in like my top 25 movies of all time. Like, I constantly think about that movie. I've only seen it twice, both times 20 years ago. And I still think about it all the time. I'm constantly running scared. He only had a short film. He doesn't know at the end of that movie John Wayne dies. He just sees John Wayne doing all this great stuff. So he has like a full life-size John Wayne tattoo on his back. Dude, that movie's dope. Now, I don't know about the John Wayne one, but Running Scared is awesome. I love that movie. But anyways, that's not, he doesn't have Running Scared either. Bambi's like, why are you talking about a different movie? It's a Disney movie. It's the farthest thing from Running Scared. Paul Walker was the star of Running Scared. It was in the middle of his career, very short career, unfortunately. One of my favorite movies. Anyway, so he finds this 8mm Disney film. He's like, what? I mean, here's the thing. It's weird enough that he found anything. But if he found something, you would assume, and I would assume, that it would be Cowboy related. A clip from a John Wayne movie, perhaps. No, it's a Disney film, an 8mm Disney film, in the box and everything like that. And here's the thing, so that's pretty much the story. Let me tell you a little bit more, and then we'll analyze it a bit, and then I'll go OD on Pepto-Bismol. He goes, there's a couple odd things here. He goes, Nishta used to live here, and apparently she never had any odd dreams like this, or at least any that she's said. He goes, I don't know what to do with this movie. My sister wants it because it's just such a curiosity. But I don't know if I want to give it to her because I don't know what the origin of this film is. Last segment, we were talking about Jinn, and how amazing it would be to find a bottle, an unopened, empty bottle. He found a whole film, or at least a clip from a film. He goes, I don't know what to do with it. He goes, I don't personally really want it around me. So he gave it to Nishta and said, put this in the barn. Put this in the barn. This is interesting. He says, quote, put this in the barn. I don't want those ghosts coming back, unquote. So even though in the dream they appear to be real people, he refers to them as ghosts. And they quite well may be that. Now, just because of the Adobe, I got so much stuff to say, and I feel bad that I was thrown off track because now my brain's all scattershot because I took a day off. Just because the house is built in the 1970s doesn't necessarily mean that it wouldn't be haunted. That actually is long enough for a house to become haunted, but you're talking about, someone's died or suffered a tragedy on almost every square foot of this planet since the dawn of time. Any place could really be haunted. Okay, so imagine that these were actually cowboys. What are they doing with the Disney film? Right? And here's the thing. The Disney film, he looked it up on eBay. It goes for about $30. So it's not even like they had a treasure. Well, Jason, not all cowboys lived in the 1800s. It could have been cowboys from the 1970s. Yeah, it could have been. But what are they doing with an 8mm Disney film? Why do they care about it? He goes, I don't know. I don't want to send it to my sister because I don't know what is attached to it. I don't want to keep it. I gave it to Nishta and told her to put it in the barn. He has taken photos of it, and he's been nice enough to let us. I'm going to post them online so we can take a look at them. It's just photos of the inside of this house and then photos of an 8mm film. It's not like if you look close enough, you see two cowboys chuckling in the background. Oh, he's spreading our virus. I actually thought about that for a second because I got extremely ill in the middle of recording this story, and I went to work. I'm not going to go to work tomorrow because I'm still pretty sick, but I remember at work, and I go, what? I guess, listen, I am paranoid about a lot of this stuff. I go, what if this is the curse? What if by telling this story and by you hearing it, you're like, oh, that's why my stomach hurts. Oh, I was listening to Dead Rap Radio, my stomach hurts so bad. I don't actually think that's the case. I'm not gonna put a cursed episode warning on this. But I did think about that. I go, what if I shouldn't be telling this story? But I did, I am finishing it, so obviously I'm not too concerned. Bambi, he says this. I thought this was interesting, right? Because this is what anyone who experiences the paranormal does. The other day I was pulling up to Sabine's house, and I was pretty sure I saw a gray, translucent cat run across the yard. A ghost cat. And we all know that Jenny passed away last year around this time. As well. It's Christmas time. Around that. Was it around Christmas time? Maybe it was in January. Anyways, the point is that I watched it run across the front yard, and I go, it was probably the way my lights were hitting the moisture in the air. Maybe it was a single solitary cloud that was cat-shaped floating by. You look for rational answers, because if you don't, then you'd just be paranoid all the time. Bambi goes, listen, here's the thing. Maybe I had this dream and they showed us where it was. He goes, there's also the possibility that it wasn't a dream, that I was actually sleeping. And he goes, this place he was at is a set of train tracks. It's about 100 feet from the ranch. He goes, listen, it's possible that two bums walked in and were fiddling, trying to find an old movie, or they just happened to stumble across that. He goes, I mean, it's possible. That, to me, would be way scarier. Right? What would you rather have? 2 ghost cowboys who show you where a Disney film is, or 2 rail-riding hobos walking into your house while you're sleeping and staring at you, glaring at you? Bambi goes, I haven't had any more dreams. Now he's staying at the yurt, but still on the property, I believe. He goes, I haven't had any dreams where they've come back at all, but I have been having dreams about cataclysms, massive disasters destroying the area, if not the world. He said in one of these dreams, he looked up and he saw the sky split open. And when he woke up, his whole body was shaking. Now, Arizona, we covered Arizona a long time ago on the podcast. Arizona is known for its interdimensional hijinks. Very big New Age community. We covered a story about portal jumpers. I mean, that was like in the first 100 episodes. Really, maybe first 200 episodes, but really, really charged with paranormal energy or unexplained energy. I guess it's kind of the same thing, but you know what I mean? It's like just the whole area. So he may be a sensitive person, and now he's in an area where he's just getting a bit of an overload. What's also interesting, and he goes, I don't know if this means anything, but Bambi said his whole family has had an odd association with electricity, going back generations. He goes, my dad worked as an electrical lineman for 30 years. Okay, that's cool. That's not like, no, I mean, listen, I'm not like saying his dad, that's a cool thing. But does that mean that Bambi has a link to electricity? Not necessarily, but let me finish. His dad was an electrical lineman for 30 years. Maybe he picked that job up randomly, or maybe the electricity called to him. Maybe the blue bolts flying through those lines were saying, hey, Bambi's dad, come up here. Come up and play. Because, like I said, electricity and Bambi's family goes back generations. He said, well, maybe not generations, but at least 2. Him and then his parents. He goes, 2 of my relatives on my mom's side have been struck by lightning. And one of them has been struck multiple times. Longtime listeners of the show know that's making me a little jealous. I'd love to be struck by lightning. I bet it's really cool. I bet you get superpowers. Or at the very least, you die in this reality and you shift to a reality where you do have superpowers. I'll take that one too. Dad's an electrical lineman. Lightning struck 2 of his family members, one multiple times. Bambi says for himself, when he shocks himself all the time. He goes, even in moments where I wasn't doing something to build up any sort of static charge, I'd end up shocking myself. And the reason why he's putting this out there, and to be fair, he goes, maybe this is something, maybe it's nothing, I don't know, but he's just giving the information, which I really appreciate. He said, I do think it's a little odd. Here, I'll read you this quote. Quote, the film was found directly behind the outlet. I have no other abnormal electrical powers, just grasping for potentially relevant details, unquote. So he doesn't really know if that is a key, but it might be a clue. All this stuff kind of swirling together. But here's the question. Does it matter? Does any of this matter? It's fascinating to me. I really, really love this story, Bambi. Thanks for sending it in. Because on the one hand, the stakes are so low for this story. It's not an ongoing haunting. No one's in peril, either of being hurt by the spirit world or sucked into a vortex or anything like that. There's not a cryptid lurking in the wilderness. Well, there might be, but he doesn't know that, so it's not in the story. There's an electrical monster just watching him. Your father kept us trapped in cables for 30 years. The stakes couldn't be lower, which it's almost like a horseshoe effect. The stakes are so low that it becomes absolutely, it's such a flat out bizarre story. What does any of it mean? That's the big question. What does it mean? We understand why hauntings happen, or jinn show up, or demonic possessions, or cryptids, or any of that stuff. This one, it wasn't just a weird dream. He found something. These dream cowboys, these ghost cowboys, whatever you want to call them, showed him a completely innocuous item. Now again, imagine if they pointed up there, were fiddling up there, and Bambi woke up and looked back there, and he found an 8mm snuff film. Now, I'd move out. I'd be like, see ya, I don't know what job I have here. See you later, girlfriend. I'm leaving. I'm out. No, it was almost like, it was one of the most, here's the thing. If he had reached back there and found a couple quarters, if he'd reached back there and found an old sack lunch, it would have been completely meaningless. What he found had no value, but at the same time was one of the few things you could find back there that would make this story, in its own bizarre way, absolutely fascinating. If he reached back there and found an old withered stick, and maybe it was a wand, maybe he was using some ritual, but you don't know. You just found an old stick back there. It may not look special to you at all. You're not going to tell the story. If you reached back there and found maybe like an old greeting card, then you might go, well, that's interesting. Maybe they're trying to find a greeting card they left behind. That would have a name in it, maybe like from mom to ugly mean cowboy #1. But he found something that actually has a little bit of value, but is completely valueless to two ghost cowboys. You know what I mean? Like, it's so bizarre. The story, the stakes couldn't be lower. I mean, he is having dreams about the end of the world. Let's not gloss over that. But that's not even in the adobe house. He's at the yurt now, I believe, if I'm getting the details right again. He found one of the few things that is valuable enough to make the story just flat out weird, but also not. Even the greeting card, then you would go, oh, the Cowboys must have been looking for this card that the mom wrote them. No, he found something. What's the one? There's very few things that you could find that you would not connect or would be the actual antithesis of a cowboy. A mean, ugly cowboy. It's not even a cowboy movie. Swiss Family Robinson. Again, if you saw some island survivors, if you dreamed they showed up with grass skirts and they're looking for something and they found it. Fits. But this doesn't fit. Nothing fits. And it's really interesting, too, because Nishta, when she stayed there, she didn't experience anything. And I understand not wanting to... He doesn't want to destroy the film. He doesn't want to give it away, though, either, because he doesn't know what could be attached to it. And I don't know either. I really don't know. I do feel like there is some sort of attachment to this. But why them? Why then? Why him? Why that? We can ask a couple of those questions about other stories we cover, but not all of them. This one just is a puzzle. But maybe I'm just being a big stereotypical lame-o. Racist is generally the word used, but you can't be racist against the profession, so... But what I'm saying, you're like, wait, can you? I know, I'm thinking about it too. Is that possible? What I'm saying is that maybe I'm just stereotyping these goon ghosts. The old version of the word goon, not the new one. It'd be a totally different story if that was the case. Some gooners broke into the adobe house in the middle of the night, and they weren't ghosts. Run! No, maybe I'm being stereotypical. Maybe I'm being job racist. Because who's to say that an ugly, mean cowboy, his greatest treasure isn't an 8mm Disney film? A clip from Swiss Family Robinson. Maybe after all of his adventures of being mean and ugly, and a long career of being a cowboy, when he looked back on his life, the thing he loved the most was, at the end of the day, he'd get off of his horse and he'd go into his little adobe house and he'd watch the same 10 minutes of Swiss Family Robinson over and over again. It's all beautiful. There's water everywhere. They're on an island. They get along with each other. And these are all things that the ugly, mean cowboys may have never experienced in their life. They never saw a coconut. They thought it was CGI. They're like, what? Is that a Muppet? I'm waiting for it to talk. Maybe after a long, mean, ugly life, they realized that the greatest treasure they ever had was that Swiss Family Robinson movie. They weren't there to guide Bambi to find it. They were there for one last viewing party. So while Bambi... like, wait, what? Are they gooners? Now I'm confused. No, they're not gooners. But what I'm saying is that maybe they came and took the film to watch one last time, but then you're like, but didn't Bambi find the film? The ghost obviously didn't take it. Yeah, but maybe they took the memories of it. Maybe they took a spectral version of it. What I'm basically saying is that I actually have been thinking about this. This ending is being recorded way after everything else. I thought, well, maybe I'm not cutting them. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. Maybe this film, this $30 film on eBay, of something you probably couldn't pay me $30 to watch, because I don't like old live-action Disney movies. I don't really like Disney movies in general, but especially the old live-action ones, like Swiss Family Robinson. Okay, fine. I would watch 10 minutes of Swiss Family Robinson for $30, okay? But I might hem and haw a bit. What I'm saying is that because I personally think the movie's lame, and I think Cowboys should be looking for gold or something like that. Or cows, right? You're like, we hired you to be cowboys. Why do you keep paying in for gold? Oh, I thought this was our job. That's what Jason said. My point is, maybe I'm not giving them the wideness and the growth or whatever. You guys know what I'm saying. Cowboys kind of like Disney too. Maybe this was their favorite thing in the world, and I've kind of been saying, where's the gold? Where's the gold? But anyways, fascinating story. Like I said, the stakes couldn't be lower. And I think this will be one of those mysteries that Bambi will always carry through life. What was up with that movie? I understand the caution thinking it might be cursed, because it could be. The story is unfolding as we speak. But I would like to hear any updates. I have reached out to him over the weeks since he emailed this to me, and he says, no, there's really no updates, and so on and so forth. So, fascinating stuff. The world of the paranormal is so vast that it encompasses all sorts of weirdness. Even the weirdness of a mean, ugly cowboy loving a Disney movie. That's not the weird part. Why are you fixated on their taste in films? Just because you don't like it and you think cowboys are above Disney film. The weird part is that two ghosts broke into a dude's house and showed him the location of an object he didn't know was there. It's nothing to do with how good the movie is. Some guy calls me up and goes, I think my house is a gateway to hell. Demons keep coming out and they're pointing to a portion in the wall. Will you come out? I'll pay you $30. I go, oh yeah, perfect, totally. So I go into the house and I knock a hole in the wall and I find a DVD box set of The Big Bang Theory. I'm like, what? These demons suck. As they're starting to pull people into hell. Boo, you demons. Oh, I'm not even going to bother closing the portal. If this is what you're watching. DeadRabbitRadio@gmail.com is going to be our email address. You can also hit us up at Facebook.com/DeadRabbitRadio. TikTok is @DeadRabbitRadio. Dead Rabbit Radio is the daily paranormal, conspiracy, and true crime podcast. You don't have to listen to it every day, but I'm so glad you listened to it today. Have a great one, guys.